Welcome to Management Development Unlocked, where you will learn how to nurture a world-class management team. And now your host, Eric Girard.
Hi, I'm Eric Girard, CEO of Girard Training Solutions. In episode 2, I read chapter 2 from my book, Lead Like a Pro, The Essential Guide for New Managers. Here, I cover the things you need to do to make the transition from high-performing individual contributor to great people manager. I spend a lot of time talking about the psychological shifts you have to make and how setting clear boundaries, maintaining open communication, and focusing on serving your team can help the transition go much more smoothly. I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 2, Making the Transition into Management. The most important decisions you make in your first 90 days will probably be about people. Michael D. Watkins. Transitioning into a management position is exciting, but challenging, mostly because it requires a whole different set of skills than the job you were doing yesterday. The fact is, most new managers don't understand their new jobs. As I said in the previous chapter, the skills and mindset that made you successful in your individual contributor role are likely not enough, and possibly not even related, to the knowledge and skills you'll need to help you thrive in your new position. It's a whole different beast. Whether you're a natural manager or not, stepping up in a manager role requires additional skills to take on extra responsibilities, lead a team, and solve new challenges. Also, by the way, as William Gentry says, if you've just been promoted and are in a new management position, congratulations. You are now the subject of the dinner table conversations of every person who reports to you. Your every move is being analyzed by many people who have mighty expectations of you. Eric's story. When I was promoted to lead my team on which I had previously been a team member, I was given no guidance or instruction. Well, there was one thing. One of my 2 team members was making serious mistakes and wreaking havoc in the organization, and in the words of my manager, I want him gone. So not only was I new to management, but my manager had sandbagged me into doing his dirty work. However, no document trail had been created to show the employee's problem behavior was a fireable offense, so from the first, I had to document every conversation and email I had with him. There were also a series of conversations with our internal legal team. All of this got in the way of what I should have been doing, namely setting goals, delegating, coaching, and providing constructive feedback. Oh, I provided feedback, but it was so granular and nitpicky, I cringe to think of it now. Things with this team member got so bad he wound up on a performance improvement plan, PIP. I figured he'd give up and quit, but he managed to survive the PIP process. Good news for him, but not so much for me, because now I had a disgruntled team member who was motivated to do no more than the minimum to keep his job and stay out of trouble. This story is an example of someone, me, who clearly didn't understand their job. I'm a fantastic facilitator and trainer, but at the time I had 0 experience managing a team, let alone a problem team member. And I'm certain my problem team member vented to his family every night about his boneheaded manager. If I had it to do over again, I'd have put off my manager's insistence that we move this team member out and focus instead on what needed to be done to get him on track. What's in it for you? It's impossible to overstate the benefits you'll reap by taking the time to prepare yourself, your team, your peers, and your future boss for your transition. I won't deceive you. Transitioning to a management role is a lot of work, and most likely must be done in a very short time. The actions you take in the first hours, days, and weeks in your new role will do more to set the stage for your success or failure than almost anything else that happens afterwards. To oversimplify, your goal in these opening days comes down to understanding and managing the expectations of the people below, alongside, and above you. If everyone already knows what's coming and has provided buy-in, believe me, it makes the opening days of your new job so much easier. Even for the most talented person, i.e. you, becoming a manager is a journey of learning and development which, at times, can be difficult. I'll be the first to admit, this process can be overwhelming. Add in a few common misconceptions or unrealistic expectations, and the transition could be a nightmare. In her article, Becoming the Manager, Linda Hill summarizes 15 years of research on people making the transition into management. She begins with some of the most common misperceptions, so let's start with those. From there, we'll get into some steps to make your transition smooth and get you on the path to developing those essential management skills. Misconception 1. Some people are born to lead. The idea that some people have a natural talent to lead and need no further training to take on a management role can leave even the most talented individuals struggling with the transition. Management skills may be associated with personality traits, but that doesn't tell the whole story. So don't assume that if it doesn't come naturally that you're not a fit for the job. Helping you understand that you need to learn these skills, that they can be learned, and teaching them to you is the whole point of this book. Misconception 2. Authority comes with the job. New managers often believe certain rights and privileges come naturally with the position. In real life, authority emerges as managers establish credibility and trust with their team members, peers, and superiors. Misconception 3. Compliance and commitment are the same thing. Compliance does not equal commitment. New managers may have some authority over their people to get them to complete their tasks, compliance, but their team members won't take the initiative if they're not engaged with team goals, commitment. In the long run, compliance without commitment will make it harder for the manager to trust, delegate, and deliver quality results. Misconception 4. Team building is a luxury. When new managers focus on individual performance over team culture and performance, it can actually undermine progress. As discussed in Chapter 1, making that time and space to invest in the team's overall development, inside and outside of work, builds mutual trust with you as their manager and among the team members themselves. That in turn makes for much more effective teamwork. One-on-one relationships are important, but building a cohesive team is essential to achieve goals. Misconception 5. The manager should have all the answers. There's a common stigma that asking for help is a sign of weak management, but in reality, the key to development is finding support, whether inside or outside the organization. To that point, management training is the best approach to understanding the goals and expectations of your new role. Few companies have the resources to create and implement their own training programs, however, but many of them will cover costs for outside training because the business case for them is clear. Tips to make a better transition to management. So, now that we've established that you needn't be anything more than a mere mortal to be a good manager, let's talk about making that transition. It starts with flipping the script on everything you know. William Gentry, in his book Be the Boss Everyone Wants to Work For, suggests 6 mindset shifts or flips you need to make in order to become a great boss. 1. Flip your mindset to think like a boss. You need to think strategically and long-term. In my own words, this means thinking ahead to the challenges and needs your team will face in the near and long-term future and not just about meeting the demands of today. Working towards your organization's goals rather than just your own and getting results that move the needle are both part of the big picture. 2. Flip your skill set to develop capabilities beyond the technical abilities you needed in previous jobs. As Marshall Goldsmith says, what got you here won't get you there. Your superior technical abilities in your individual contributor position must now take a back seat to soft skills and relationship building. If you're getting the sense that there's a familiar refrain here, you're right. It's important enough to merit repeating. 3. Flip your relationships to manage staff, teams, and even peers and friends at work. Please don't try to manage your friends outside of work. This can be difficult, especially if you're managing friends, but you can do it by setting clear boundaries. 4. Flip your do-it-all attitude. Bosses must delegate. See Chapter 4. If you try to do everything, you'll likely fail as a manager. It's hard to be an effective manager when you're not managing anything. File that under no duh if you want, but always remember that you must delegate, even the things you enjoy doing. Eric's story. When I started Girard Training Solutions, I thought I would be a one-man band. After all, I knew a lot about many things. Why couldn't I write and facilitate programs, build and run the website, write and publish my social media copy, build my own branded PowerPoint decks, and do my own bookkeeping? I quickly found that it was overwhelming and incredibly draining, and I was making costly errors to boot. I learned that I need to do only what I could do and delegate the rest. The result is I now have an amazing team of high performers who do what they love, I get to do what I love, and I also have work-life balance. 5. Flip your perspective for a broader view of the organization and your role in it. This goes hand in hand with thinking like a boss. Imagine hovering above your organization at 20,000 feet and seeing it as a chessboard. What's going on inside the team as well as outside the team? What are the forces that impact how you and the team function? 6. Flip your focus to understand that your actions have repercussions beyond yourself. You are now responsible for a team of people, and your actions affect them and the broader organization. Everything you do builds or harms your team's culture and spirit. It's on you to create a culture of mutual reliance, openness, and a shared sense of creating and molding that culture together. Up, down, and sideways. All of these mindset flips relate directly to one of the most significant dynamics of your new role. Instead of just managing yourself, you're managing people. That's obvious. But a common mistake is to assume that you're only managing the people beneath you, that you're just running a team and delegating tasks. If only it were that simple. But the fact is, you need to know how to expand your influence to manage up, your boss, down, your team, and sideways, your peers. How do you do that? After all, leading a team is challenging as it is, so why would you add your peers and boss on top of that? Because managing your boss and your colleagues is not only good for the company, it also helps your career development plans. A good friend of mine, when he was starting out in his career, was given a tip that his real job was to make his boss look good. Anticipating what your boss needs, then doing your job and managing your team in a way that sets your boss up for success is only going to pay dividends at review time. McKinsey & Company researched this theory and proved that mobilizing CEOs and peers increases business impact and career success. When CEOs get honest feedback from trusted executives, they can sharpen the company strategy. And when managers engage with their counterparts in other business units, they are exposed to a wide range of perspectives and may be inspired to bring innovative ideas. Next, I'll share some tactics to get you started on a 360-degree management style. Managing up. Becoming a manager doesn't mean you need to solve everything by yourself. You have a team, and you also have a boss. Being afraid that your own manager is too busy to help you figure out a few things won't get you far on your objectives or in your career. The first rule of managing your superiors is to keep communication open so you can share the issues you're dealing with. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. At the end of the day, that's part of their job description. At the same time, no one wants to be presented with only what the problem is. Most of the advice you should seek is to receive feedback about your ideas on how you intend to address the problem. An important and valuable outcome of this open communication will be the ability to keep your goals aligned with your boss's agenda and may contribute to the company's overall performance. Managing down. Your new role is about much more than assigning duties. It starts with hiring the right people who will make it easier for you. Jim Collins, in his famous book, Good to Great, describes this as getting the right people on the bus. As a new manager, you may not have a solid handle on how to interview and hire well. If that's the case, I recommend finding a course on behavioral interviewing to help give you this skill. When you trust your team, micromanagement is not a problem, and giving feedback becomes a positive exercise. Once you have the right people, if you want results from your team, you need to provide guidance and clear direction. Otherwise, the results won't happen or won't be the results you wanted. Perhaps the most beneficial thing you can do is create a psychologically safe environment. Be sure it's okay for people to challenge you and each other respectfully and speak up when something seems off. Frequently recognizing and rewarding good work and small wins, see Chapter 8, is also a helpful management tactic that will drive engagement, performance, and retention rates. The importance of retention rates cannot be overstated. Losing good people impacts your team's performance and morale, while recruiting, hiring, and training all take tremendous amounts of time and money. By minimizing turnover in your team or department, you're making a huge contribution to the organization's bottom line and demonstrating your own value to boot. Managing sideways. You may not report to other business units, but building a collaborative culture with other teams and team leaders positively impacts the entire organization. Exchanging ideas and concerns with other managers sparks creativity and gives you additional perspectives you can apply to solving problems. Creating a habit of communicating widely about important projects and working jointly to attack strategic issues is a good start. In a book I recommend to everyone who attends my management classes, The First 90 Days, Critical Success Strategies for New Leaders at All Levels by Michael Watkins, Watkins suggests a series of structured conversations with all the various groups of people you work with to understand their needs, wants, and expectations, and to set expectations of your own. I have found that having regular, recurring meetings with these folks, building genuine relationships with each person in each group creates space to find a way to achieve win-wins in each relationship. Leading your team to success is your main goal, but managing up, down, and sideways will give you a deeper understanding of your organization and corporate goals. Once you understand how others support the company's mission, you can develop more effective plans. Try it. Create a plan for managing up, down, and sideways in your own organization. Start by identifying specific strategies for each area of management and then outline action steps for implementing those strategies. For example, for managing up, schedule regular check-ins with your boss and identify specific areas where you need guidance or support. Ask questions about the business direction and needs. Listen to what their bosses and managers say and what they aren't saying to discover their needs and what is important to them. For managing down, set clear expectations and goals for your team and schedule regular feedback sessions to provide guidance and recognition. For managing sideways, schedule regular meetings with other managers in the organization to exchange ideas and collaborate on strategic issues. Review and revise your plan regularly as you gain more understanding of their roles. The Forbes 14 Tips for Transitioning. Forbes offers 14 tips for team members transitioning into a management role based on interviews with members of the Forbes Coaches Council. I've listed them here along with my thoughts on how to make the most of each of them. 1. Spend one-on-one time with the team as a whole. Ultimately, you need to get results through the work and actions of your team, so be sure to spend time with them to build the culture you want. I try to spend a few minutes at the top of every team meeting with an icebreaker. Nothing too awkward or personal, but I create space for folks to get to know each other and me a little better every time we meet. I want my team to look forward to our meetings, not dread them, and I want everyone to know that everyone else on the team has their back. 2. Adopt a coaching mindset. Rather than being the fount of all knowledge, ask questions, listen well, and guide your team members to find answers on their own. One of my favorite questions is, what would you do if I wasn't here? Quite often, the team member comes up with a great solution to their problem. This builds confidence and self-reliance. We'll get into more detail on this in Chapter 7. 3. Slow down and be collaborative. New managers often feel like they need to get a lot done quickly, but this often leads them into a hero mentality where they try to do it all themselves. This may generate results in the short term, but it will ultimately lead to burnout for the manager and low engagement for the team. Take a step back, slow down, and invite your team in to help solve problems. See Chapter 4. This will lead to less stress for you and a sense of belonging and contribution for the team. 4. Practice emotional intelligence. I address this in Chapter 1. Learning how to manage your own emotions and work with others in a sensitive way will go a long way toward building a solid team. 5. Make small changes and ask questions. There's a long-standing belief that when a new manager comes in, they have to make a lot of changes. In some circumstances, it's just a power play. In others, it's a belief that they need to remake the team in their own image. And in others, it's a legit attempt to optimize the team. Regardless of the intent, however, too much change too fast can have a negative impact on the team and breed distrust. Few statements bring out cold sweat in an employee like the phrase, "We're going to be making some changes around here." Rather than coming in with a bull in the china shop mentality, ask questions before making changes. Find out how and why things were done prior to your arrival. What worked? What didn't? Take time to get familiar with the processes in place, and only after you've understood the current situation, make small improvements. Better yet, workshop the new ideas with your team, not to get their permission, but to make them feel they have some equity in how things change, and to give them confidence in making their own suggestions. Working side by side with your team and senior management will give you perspective on the right time to incorporate your ideas, and current team members may also have ideas for beneficial change. I had a Post-it note on my monitor for years that said, "Get buy-in." Good advice. Again, from Brent. 6. Bring the team together to discuss the transition. I think this one overlaps with number 5. In the course of asking questions prior to making changes, you also create an opportunity for your team members to ask their own questions, express any concerns or fears they have, and make sure you're all managing expectations for each other. You and the team both deserve to know what they're getting with the change. 7. Share your vision to support the team. A corollary to number 6. You definitely have ideas about what the team needs to accomplish, but you can't operate in a vacuum. So be transparent with the team about your vision, make them feel like they're an important part of the overall mission, and let them know they have a say. 8. Bring them along on the management journey. Your role as a new manager is a journey. Let the team be part of that journey by being transparent with them. Without telling them everything, share what you are learning and trying along the way. Ask for feedback and input about what seems to be working for the team and what isn't. 9. Set up regular individual check-ins. It's important to regularly get together with your team members as individuals. It can be 30 minutes weekly or an hour bi-weekly, whatever works best for you as long as it is consistent. These one-on-one times are sacred and should never be canceled, only rescheduled if absolutely necessary. The purpose of these one-on-ones is to build a bond between you, find out how things are going for them at work, and to check in personally to see how they're doing. Although you will probably have agenda items you need to cover, it's important to make this time about them first. Let the team member lead with what they see as the most important and include some getting to know you unstructured time. The purpose is not all business, but to show you care about them as a person as well as a member of your team. 10. Set and maintain appropriate boundaries. As my high school friend Bill, now my publicist, told me once, you're no longer part of the gang. Whether or not you used to be peers prior to your promotion, you need to develop the concept that although you are part of the team, you are the leader of the team, and as such, you have different boundaries than you did before. However, you are there to listen, not as a counselor, but as their advisor and someone who can refer them to appropriate resources. 11. Maintain and build upon established relationships. It's imperative that you're respectful at all times with your team. If you're a peer who was promoted, you can leverage the accountability and trust you had in those prior relationships. You also have relationships throughout the organization you can build on by putting on your manager hat and now speaking to these people as peers. Remember, you can't do it all alone. It takes a village to raise a manager. Be open to help from your network. 12. Be yourself. While you are indeed going through a great deal of change alongside your team, remember you were promoted because of the actions and deeds you performed in your prior role. You don't need to suddenly become someone different. Relax and be yourself. 13. Lead by modeling. Do as I say, not as I do will not work in your new role. It never worked when my parents said it either. You earn trust and respect from your team, your manager, and your peers when you lead by doing. Show your team what you want them to do by doing it yourself. Model high integrity, trustworthiness, and empathy, and you'll see those characteristics growing in your team as well. 14. Focus on what the team feels and needs. Keep in mind that the team is going through a lot as they adjust to the change in management. Focus on how you can help the team and be of service to them as you all adjust to your new roles. Being open about the organization's decisions and strategic plans is essential to building a positive culture. That's how everyone better understands their role in the company, works to accomplish the same goals, and keeps engagement high. A few more tips from me. The expert tips just discussed are all very helpful, and if you follow them completely, you'll be on your way to a successful transition to manager. Here are a few more from my own experience that I know will also serve you well. Beware of the Peter Principle. The Peter Principle states that people achieve promotion up to their individual level of incompetence. You don't want to be the person who gets promoted up to a level where you start to perform badly. To make sure you make the transition successfully, you need to do 3 things well. 1. Support your team members, customers, and your own manager. 2. Maintain a high level of talent among your team members. 3. Manage the metrics that matter. Just because you can measure something doesn't mean you should. Focus on the key business metrics you're responsible for and keep accurate performance records for your team members. Become a learning machine. Charlie Munger, vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, famously said, "In my whole life, I have known no wise people who didn't read all the time. None. 0. The real message here is to be self-driven in learning how to be an excellent manager. You're listening to this book, so you're already getting a great start. Don't wait for someone to hand you something to read or learn from. Your success is your responsibility and no one else's. And frankly, no one's going to care as much about your success as you will. Also, with information available in so many formats, there really is no excuse for becoming stagnant, and you can easily create a learning habit. Whether your company offers formal training or not, there are plenty of opportunities to improve your management skills. For example, LinkedIn Learning is a fantastic resource, and my company offers more than 20 courses on these topics. There are many other places where you can find what you need on demand. Look for mentorship possibilities in your organization and observe your senior management. And of course, there are the books, and more books on management theory with the potential of bringing out the best in your team and yourself. Charlie Munger's quote notwithstanding, the sheer volume of writing in this area can feel like trying to eat an elephant. Fortunately, the same strategy applies. Take it one bite at a time. Set an appointment to read for 15 minutes a day or listen to podcasts or audiobooks for 15 minutes or so while you work out or commute. That's how I researched and wrote this book, an hour at a time, every day, and I learned a ton in the process. Confront the hard things first. Mark Twain says, "Eat a live frog first thing in the morning and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day." When you do the most difficult thing first, your mind is free to focus on the needs of your team. This requires tough-mindedness and self-discipline, otherwise you'll be the proverbial manager rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. As Carly Fiorina, former CEO of Hewlett-Packard, said, "Great management is about solving problems. Run toward the problems and work to solve them." Cut yourself some slack. All of this is a lot to take in, so don't assume you have to be an expert on everything by the end of your first week. Nor should you think everyone expects you to be the perfect manager right off the bat. It's a complex job and requires many hours of on-the-job training. So give yourself permission to learn, make mistakes, and improve as you go. Stress is going to be part of the job no matter how good you are, so as a practical tip, plan short breaks in your calendar to just step back, breathe, and in the spirit of that self-awareness I discussed earlier, check in with yourself during the day. You got this. A word on power versus influence in management. No discussion on transitioning into management would be complete without helping new managers understand the difference between these two terms. It's the balance between power and influence that will best advance the organization's strategy. So, what are the differences between these two terms? Power is the capacity to impose your authority and make others comply in the particular way you want. People may not agree with you or believe it's the best choice, but they act because they're motivated by a reward or scared to face the consequences if they don't comply. Influence, on the other hand, is the ability to change people's opinions, beliefs, and behaviors. Here, you don't tell people what to do. People follow your lead because they trust you. Influencing someone is a personal skill that requires persuasion and inspiration. How do you know when it is best to use power or influence in a 360-degree management approach? To help answer that question, I'm going to pull a story from an unlikely source, a 13th century French prose romance about King Arthur, Sir Gawain, Sir Galahad, and the Holy Grail. Stay with me, this is interesting. First, some background. Scholars and literary critics debate Sir Gawain's influence on the Holy Grail quest. Gawain is portrayed in some Arthurian legends as a champion, while in others he's a skeptic or even an opponent. In Sir Thomas Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, Gawain is depicted as a reluctant participant in the quest for the Holy Grail. At first, he thinks searching for the Holy Grail is a fruitless and dangerous endeavor. In the end, he joins the quest when he realizes it's his duty as a knight. According to Malory, Galahad finds the Holy Grail, not Gawain. However, Gawain still had a big impact on the other knights. They respect and admire him, and his decision to join the quest inspires them to do the same. The Vulgate cycle, a series of French prose romances written in the 13th century, also chronicles the quest for the Holy Grail. In this version of the story, from the outset, Gawain is a staunch supporter of the quest. He is one of the first knights to begin, and as a wise, courageous, and respected manager, encourages the others to follow. Based on which Arthurian legend you read, Sir Gawain's interest in the Grail quest differs, but his influence on the other knights is the same. He is depicted as a respected and influential knight who plays an important role in convincing the other knights to undertake the quest. This story shows that while power can force people to comply, influence can inspire them to achieve great things of their own volition. To recap, King Arthur was a powerful ruler who had the authority to order his knights to do as he pleased. One day, he asked his knights to go on a quest to find the Holy Grail, but they were reluctant to do so. Sir Gawain, one of the knights, used his influence to persuade the others to go on the quest. He did not use his authority or threaten them with consequences. Instead, he inspired them with his words and convinced them that the quest was worth undertaking. In the end, all the knights went on the quest and successfully found the Holy Grail. When we follow Sir Gawain's example, we are reminded that there's much more to management than authority and power. When we talk about management, influencing people is an ability you must develop if you want to generate consistent results. Earning your team's trust and respect won't be easy when you only use power to lead them. Yes, there are situations where you will need to impose your authority, and using power when needed is not a bad thing. When something unexpected happens, for example, you need to make quick decisions and take immediate action. You don't have time to influence your team, so enforcing your power in this case is beneficial. You are the manager for a reason, and that's the time to prove your knowledge and skills. It's encouraging to know that if you've been building a high-performing and loyal team, they will willingly receive it. On a daily basis, however, having a positive influence on your team, boss, and colleagues has a lasting impact on your organization and professional reputation. Reaching that position takes time and effort, but studies have proven that it helps you increase engagement and retention and improve the overall team member experience. Summary: approaches I like best. All of the sources just listed provide excellent advice and guidance for the new manager. But if I needed to narrow them to the best tips for making the transition from team member to manager, I'd say, slow down, prioritize. Realize you're not the one and only source of authority. Influence, don't just command. Get to know the team and let them get to know you. At its core, good management is about your team. Take care of them and they'll take care of you. Spend time focused on your team. You can't focus 100% of your time on your own tasks anymore. Your team needs you as well. Don't skip regular one-on-one time with each team member. This time is sacred as it builds a bond between you. Use this time to practice your active listening skills. To these, I would add, interview and hire well. Take a course on behavioral interviewing. Listen well. See Chapter 7. Learn to speak well in public. Being able to present your ideas to groups is crucial to your ability to influence others. Always seek feedback from your team, your boss, and your peers. Learn to handle change well. See Chapter 9. Remember, your team members' results are your results. Be sure you've got an experienced friend or mentor, preferably a more experienced manager, who you can talk to regularly to get counsel and advice. Activity. Reflection. When was the last time, if ever, you asked for help in your management position? For what might you ask for help in the coming month? Thanks for listening to Chapter 2 of Lead Like a Pro, the Essential Guide for New Managers. I hope the pointers I gave were useful and give you a bit of a roadmap as to how to transition into your new role. If you'd like to talk with me about how I can help you or your new managers smoothly make the transition to management, please email me at eric@gerardtrainingsolutions.com or message me on LinkedIn. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Management Development Unlocked. Want more? Get a ton of insider tips and tools at gerardtrainingsolutions.com.